Harlan denied proposing to Wells on either occasion. So let me tell you when I believe Harlan was proposing to Wells. On top of her, while he was doing his business. Betty LaVette, who wasn't present but apparently talked to Griffin later, provided more details on what went on while Mary and May were hiding in their bathroom. The dispute between the two men became so heated, LaVette said, that West pulled what she called his little raggedy gun on Griffin. Herman ran towards West and pushed his hand back. The gun fired, and the bullet went through West's eye and through his brain. The New York Daily News reported that the bullet had plowed into West's head just above his left eye. He was taken to Roosevelt Hospital. Amazingly, he survived. Now, Griffin, he got off, okay, because what happened is indeed what happened, okay? That ninja pulled the blicker. He wasn't Quick Draw McGraw. So Griffin pushed his hands back, made him shoot himself in the eye. So that's self-defense, not assault, okay? Because you planned on shooting me. Griffin was not only free of legal charges, but also remained active in the music business. Now, West, on the other hand, he lost his eye. He moved to Las Vegas and did various jobs. Mary Wells, fresh off a #1 song, had avoided injury during the Griffin-West shooting incident. She was also now free from Motown's yoke and searching for a new record company. Corporate talent scouts swarmed her, hoping to get lucky. Quincy Jones, the famous musician and composer who in 1964 was vice president of Mercury Records, visited Mary to try to convince her to join forces with him. She also was courted by Atlantic, MGM, ABC, Paramount, United Artists, Warner Brothers, Reprise, RCA, Victor, and 20th Century Fox. Helping her deal with the torrent of offers was her new manager, George Schneck. Mary hired Schneck after the arrest of Herman Griffin and the shooting of Robert West had forced her to dispense with their services. She had divorced Griffin in Detroit more than a year before the shooting, but now he could no longer remain her manager either. Schneck was not necessarily the best choice Murray could have made. He was managing Bobby Darin and Connie Francis, both extremely popular vocalists at the time, and may have had trouble devoting the necessary time to Mary's career. Schneck is universally remembered as a tough and driving manager. Many of his clients also recall his little son, Barry, running in and out of his father's office while George dealt with them. Later, Barry became a lawyer and was part of the dream team that successfully defended O.J. Simpson when the football great was charged with murder. While Wells' attorneys were fighting Motown for her release, Wells, at the urging of George Schneck and Clarence Avant, made 3 new master recordings at the New York City facilities of Capitol Records. Former Motowner Robert Bateman, who had left that company and became a freelancer in 1962, produced 2 of them. Bateman was the man who had connected Wells to Gordy in the first place, and later in the decade, he would produce the first post-Motown records cut by another publicized Motown departee, former Supreme Florence Ballard. While Wells were making these recordings, she was still arguably covered by her Motown contract, and she did not yet have a contract with any other firm. Because of this, the recording sessions were held late at night, so there would be less chance of Motown finding out about them. While her handlers negotiated, Wells herself had been seriously concerned about where she would go. She knew that Motown was the only major black-owned record company and that most major white-owned companies had little or no experience with black music. Mary made the move to 20th Century as soon as possible because of its movie connections and because the company paid her a $250,000 advance, tremendous money in those days, and the equivalent when inflation is taken into account of some of the startling large advances paid to recording stars in recent years. She signed a contract with 20th, guaranteeing her this advance in the fall of 1964. Gordy was stunned when he heard she was offered $250,000. There was no way I could compete with the money being offered her, he said. I couldn't begin to bid against the major label. Murray reacted to the $250,000 as some would have expected. We spent it, said her BFF and manager, confidant, all things to her Gail. So anyway, May said that would be Mary's BFF, said that when they got the $250,000 advance, they was acting a ninja. They rode up to Park Avenue. Beans gon' burn in the kitchen. A beans gon' burn on the grill. Took a whole lot of trying just to get up that hill. But now we're up in the big leagues, getting our turn that day. You know how us black folks do when we get our tax money? Not me, because I don't never get a refund. You hear me? Never. Every year, I always. I ain't one of them big YouTubers. I don't make no big ass YouTube check. I'm like, how is this possible, Lord? You know how black folks do. You know, we get that tax refund. We buy a brand new Lexus, put down, we put down $5,000. The car note be $1,200. We don't know how we gonna pay the car note, but fuck it, we balling right now. According to May, she and Mary spent the advance on more than the apartment itself, because they had an apartment on Park Avenue. We finally got a piece of the pie. We had drivers and everything. If you're spending money and not bringing it in, it goes fast. Holla. Okay? Holla. Especially the way Mary did it. Songwriter Mickey Gentile told Unsung that around this time Mary asked him and her new manager, George Schneck, where she could get a car. Gentile asked her what kind of car she already had, and she replied that she didn't have one. Dude, Gentile was like, huh? How do you have a chauffeur, but you don't have a car, Mary? How that work? Yeah, how the hell that work, Mary? Curtis Womack said his brother Cecil visited Wells and James Holler at around the same time and reported that they were living high on the hog. They were paying everybody and going out and doing this and that. Damn Womack brothers, you know they for snakety, all right? You know if that Bobby Womack is a snake, okay? And they all grew up in the same snakety house. As soon as Cecil went round there to that apartment, he started itching. Oh shit. I need to get over there. The this and that includes attempts by Mary and May to continue their social life as youngsters, this time in the Big Apple. One night, unfamiliar with Manhattan, they decided to go to the Times Square area to take in a movie, not realizing that most movie theaters there were porno places. Let me tell you something. Downtown DC, I don't know what it is. It's probably a block or two away from Martin Luther King Library, okay? And me and BFF, we just knew whatever our destiny was, it was inside of that porn shop. I'm telling you, when we got old enough, we walked in there, and Mary and May had the same experience. We walked in there, and it looked like goo and slime was sliding all down the walls, okay? The floor was sticky as shit. It was dark and it had Christmas lights all over the place, girl. But me and BFF found out rather quickly, just like May and Mary found out very quickly, that they were the only two bitches in there. Okay, I'm going to need to make an exit real soon, because this is rather uncomfortable for ninjas me. In this place with trench coats, no pants, no socks, and combat boots. We might want to exit. And that's what May and Murray did. We need to get the hell out of here. Although happy to leave Motown for good, Mary still needed to settle one crucial detail. She didn't want to abandon the man she had said was her boyfriend, Brian Holland. Okay, at this point now, y'all, I'm not going to lie. I'm thinking that Mary might be a little crazy. I love you, Mary Wells. Yeah, I love you. You know, I really think that you're a special person in many ways. We see that you got a little bullshit with you, but I think your perception on life is a little askew. After Wells left the company, she said she called Holland from New York and asked him, why don't you leave there? Then we could work together and build something together. Wells wanted Holland to join her in New York City and help her advance her career. We were young, and he had talent, and I had my talent. According to Mary, Holland, still hoping to rise with HDH and Motown, refused. Holland says he was dedicated to Motown and never thought of leaving it. Meanwhile, Wells said she missed him terribly. I went through a lot of pain because I was missing him. Now, this is where she reminds me of Winter Santiago in the movie, not in the movie, in both of her books. Okay, The Coldest Winter Ever and Life After Death, where this bitch is madly, madly in love with one man on Tuesday. And then when things don't go her way by Wednesday, Thursday, she madly in love with the next. Meanwhile, Wells said she missed him terribly. I went through a lot of pain because I was missing him. I loved him. I was still a girl and I needed him with me. After agonizing for a while, however, I got the courage to pull away from him, Mary said. While he was still married to his wife, and I know by now Brian Holland is hunting around with the Diana Ross girl. Well, he's still married to his wife and he got the Diana Ross. Are you crazy? Girl. Telling Holland we could build something together was the essential Wells. As her longtime friend, Randy Russey, said, hold on, pause. I said earlier in error that Randy Russey was a interviewer. No, Randy Russey is her Italian friend. Mary had a big problem. She wanted men with her. Ooh, I can't stand a bitch that can't live without a ninja. I can't stand it. Or someone that can't live without a relationship. Ooh, and they be so delusional. No, I could be alone. I could be alone, but you ain't never alone. You be so pressed to be in a relationship. You go from one up situation to the next, girl. Just to say that you in something, girl. Wow, I just can't take it. They had to work with her or for her or tag along. Will Porter, her band leader in her later years, noted Mary was always used to being handled by a man. Pause. Remember when we read earlier that they said that Mary Wells was highly sexual or something? One of her chauffeur drivers had said that about her when she worked for Motown. I don't think that she was highly sexual. I think she just had to just have that connection with a man some way or another. And we know that men are physical. And in order for a woman to maintain that connection with their man or a man that they're trying to acquire, she had to make sure that she hopped on that thing. Mary was always used to being handled by a man. When Mary's mother died a few years earlier, Mary was very impressed that Mary Wilson showed up at the funeral by herself without a man. Porter said, as much as possible, Wells went from one man to another. I hate you. I hate you, needy bitches. I hate you, bitches. Eventually, HDH decided that Wells had been right. Although they had written no fewer than 25 top 10 pop songs for Motown from 1963 to 1967, making them history's most successful rock and roll songwriting team, they were not as rich as they thought they should be. In 1968, they left Motown and founded the Invictus and Hot Wax record labels. But by the time Mary had moved on to new men and new record companies. The team's tardiness angered Wells. They saw things much slower than I did, she said to Steve Bergsman. I really got hurt really bad by that because I truly thought we, Wells and Brian Holland, would have been a good couple. You mean throuple? Don't forget he's still married to his damn wife. Girl, according to Mary, Holland apparently thought so too. Mary said he once again proposed to her during this period and was angered when she refused him a second time. He figured that during those months that I was missing him, I should have just waited until he saw the light, the somewhat embittered Wells said. Holland denied proposing to Wells on either occasions. Let me tell you when I believe Holland was proposing to Wells. On top of her, while he was doing his business. Because you know, when the man sits on top of you doing his business, oh, he loves you. He wants you to have all his babies. He will marry you. Everything. It's all going down until it comes out. Remember, NayRob told you. By her own account, however, Mary, always a hard charger, was not the kind of woman who would wait for Holland or any other man. Anger built up in me, confusion, and I got involved with another guy, Jackie Wilson, to get Holland off my mind, she said. I can't stand a bitch that crawls off of one ninja and get up under another. I can't stand you desperate hoes. Wilson, the man for whom she had written Bye Bye Baby, had been her first crush. I idolized him, she said.